and welcome back to my channel. Before we jump into my series of videos, I'd like to run the same intro that I'm going to run in every video that I do this week. If you are one of the people that put trans rights or human rights all up and down my YouTube, thank you. If you came from TikTok and you followed that video from TikTok and you listened and you said, hey, they're being gross and ugh, the super straights are being gross, thank you. Please continue. If you want to catch my attention, nothing will catch it faster than saying trans rights are human rights and Black Lives Matter all up and down my page. I will love you eternally for it. So if that's you, I heart you. Everything about you, I heart. Hello, on this episode of on comments that annoy me, we are going to do a gun control one because you know those always turn out so well for the person that tried to do it. It's not like I haven't done my research on it or anything, and anything I wasn't sure on, I could look up. So let's read the first comment and let's just do this, shall we? Okay, why is gun control good? Gun control is good because it keeps red flag laws, keeps guns out of crazy people's hands, background checks, keeps guns out of criminals' hands, basic common sense gun laws. Okay. It doesn't work. We're going to debunk that in a minute. You want less freedom, increased gun violence. Actually, multiple studies have shown, and I'm going to list you a place where you can find multiple studies in a minute. Increased gun violence. Then be my guest. Venezuela. Why do they always use Venezuela? It's a fucking talking point. I'd pay for any of these morons to point out Venezuela on a map. But Venezuela, Canada, the UK, Brazil, Mexico, New Zealand, strictest held gun control, drastic increase in the last year alone. There has been drastic increases in all around the violence in the past year because according to science studies and just all around economics, when people are in desperate straits for money, when the economy is on a downturn, when we are in a massive economic downturn, crime goes up. More poverty, more crime. That's basic. So, I don't know why you would even try. I said, Australia and most of Europe would disagree with you. Gun control has been shown to be extremely effective when enforced, but the United States has an obsession with guns. We're going to circle back to that in a minute when I start debunking things. Oh my God, you're right. I'm so wrong. Sarcastically, of course. Europe has a stabbing crisis. Let's address that one first. Europe does kind of have a crisis with stabbings, but do you know what the average death rate in a stabbing is in Europe? Like 2.5 people. The highest one that I could find out of the 20 or 30 mass stabbings I looked up over the past 10 years, do you know the highest number of deaths I could find total? 4. Do you know what the average death rate in America is for a mass shooting? Go look it up. It's way higher than 4. Again, I will give you the names to studies and tell you things to look up, but I expect if you're watching this video for you to do your own research and for you to fact check shit. Because again, while I do heavily research my videos, I am a huge fan of encouraging you to look up the information for yourself. I will tell you where to look, but it is your job to look. Okay? Okay. All right. As for Australia, it was in the same boat with the USA. Both had a decrease in gun violence before gun control. Even after the US lifted its ban on AR-15s, it kept decreasing. First off, after we lifted our ban on AR-15s, mass shootings went up tenfold. This is where I'm going to tell you where to look up the studies because the University of Columbia gathered up a bunch of other professors' studies and things like that. And what they did was they put them all in one place and they analyzed those studies to see if gun control would work. And while they said it is not 100% conclusive, you can find a direct link between gun control and less crimes. And we're going to go over that in a minute. But it's called the Sentinel and Torino study. If you Google Columbia and those two names, you will find the study. It studied multiple studies from 10 different countries, mostly developed countries like Canada, UK, United States, Germany, Australia, and New Zealand were some of their main ones. Yes, I take notes. And some of the things that it showed that were really super important is that when gun laws were put into effect, they saw a huge decline in multiple things. And we're going to go over that in a minute, but I want to finish reading through some of this comment because we have to debunk something before we can move on to the next part. All right. 200,000 to 2 million lives are saved a year in the US, according to the CDC. Why ditch that to save a few who are killed in gang-related shootings? Sacrifice us all for a few gangsters. First off, way to show that you have implicit biases and you're most likely racist, because first off, how I'm going to debunk this right here without having to do a whole lot of whatever into it, I want to start off with the CDC does not track anything to do with guns. They are not allowed to because Congress set up rules for them where they're not allowed to, thanks to the NRA. That is a simple Google search. Go look it up. The CDC does not keep track of those things. But do you know who does keep track of certain things? Gun violence and all this stuff is tracked by the Department of Justice. And they would like you to know that 61% of all gun deaths in the United States are suicides. That's according to the Department of Justice. 61%. Which is really sad. Which red flag laws would help to prevent. And I'm going to get into that in a minute. Alright, let's continue reading through this nightmare of a comment. If you compare the U.S. Oh, they just want to compare the size. I'm not going to read the rest of that comment. We're just going to go through and debunk. 61%. Now, what that group of studies that I just showed you, let's go over what they actually state. And they state that gun laws, like the AR-15 law, mass shootings went down in the United States. And they went up tenfold in the United States after that law went away. Mass shootings with the rate of people that die in mass shootings went up drastically after that ban was lifted. Okay. Australia, Australia, the United States, Canada, and Germany, they averaged out all, and I do mean all of those, suicide rates and how far they went down with strict gun control. Do you want to know what the percentage was when they added it all together? Do you want to know? It was 9.9%. 9.9%. So if 61% of all gun deaths in the United States, according to the Department of Justice, are suicides, imagine what 9.9% in a decrease, how many lives that would actually save. Way more than your made-up number. Way more than your made-up number. Again, studies don't lie. Okay, the other thing it showed is that overall gun death went down drastically. Homicides, suicides, accidental firings all went down drastically when you had three basic laws in place. Universal background checks, gun licensing, and red flag laws. They said that those were the three laws that were most likely to prevent any sort of gun violence and gun-related death. That is what they found across all the studies, across all the countries. When they analyzed it all, those three laws were the most effective. Again, studies don't lie. I know you're not going to like this, and you're probably going to spew some talking point down in the comment section, but I'm just putting the facts out there. Australia specifically had almost half. It was like their suicide rate was 2.2 and went down to 1.1 or something like that. There was a bunch of studies I read out once and all kind of blurred together. But again, the average was 9.9. Australia hasn't had a mass shooting. Let's address your comment about... Did I already address the comment about the knives? I think I already did. If I didn't, we'll readdress it here and we'll just reiterate it. 4 is your high. 2.5 is your average death in mass stabbings. Again, go Google what the average amount of people that die in a mass shooting in the United States are and how often they're happening. Before Corona, they were almost happening on a daily basis, sometimes 2 in a day. And when people analyze certain things, like one case that they like to point out is the Douglas Stoneman High School, the high school in Florida that I'm not pronouncing correctly. The person that did that shooting, and you will never catch me saying a mass shooter's name on this page, that kid that did that mass shooting, if those 3 laws had been in effect, the ones that they're saying would be the most effective and still would not prevent law-abiding citizens from getting guns, he would not have had a gun. Those kids would still be alive. They say if he had been in Canada, the UK, Australia, this wouldn't have happened. So that right there should tell you something. Those are the 3 laws they say are most effective. What you said was total crap. I do want to address one more thing. Canada has a gun problem. Do you know where they're getting their gun problem from and what's driving them crazy? People taking guns up into Canada from the United States is a major problem. The other problem is Canadians finding out that they can make money by illegally selling their guns here in the United States. So they buy a legal gun there and sell it here in the United States. Same thing. But it's way worse coming up than it is coming down. So Canada's gun problem is directly tied to our gun problem. Mexico, Venezuela, their problems are directly tied to our interference. So before you use them, maybe learn the political climate and maybe learn how much we interfered and created those problems. So no, but again, you're just using talking points that you're throwing out and hoping that I won't notice, but I do my research. And again, you can go look up, it's got original source material, a ton of studies. It's extremely informative. It definitely very clearly stated those 3 laws were your best bet at decreasing gun violence, especially suicides, which according to the Department of Justice is 61% of all American deaths due to gun. So, there's that. All right, guys, I will see y'all later.